They won 87-51. Opening tip controlled by Duke, and we are underway tonight here in Philadelphia. Christmas coming off a terrific game. Here's Thomas into the lane. Connecticut working very hard in their practice today and yesterday, trying to keep her out of the paint. They believe that's the key to stopping the All-American. Gray with a pull-up pop off the window, and it'll rattle in for two. One of those fearless freshman guards that has been one of the themes in women's college basketball. Gray has got a very solid frame and a fearless demeanor. As you saw, Connecticut trailed in the second half, trailed at halftime against Georgetown before rallying to win in a 35-1. The lone defeat came at Stanford. Shot clock inside 10. Big catch there by Maya Moore for two. I think the most important thing to watch early in this basketball game with Maya Moore is where are her movements leading her to? Is she mixing her scoring opportunities? Thomas, kind of a wild bounce pass. Crystal Thomas had to chase that down. Duke coming in at 32-3 and trying to get back to the Final Four. Yeah, ranked number 6 in the country coming into tonight. Thomas on the baseline with the spin, hooks it up and misfires. Ferris always looking up, finds Hayes. Ferris with a bounce for Dolson. They moved it beautifully. Well, Ferris is unselfish, and inevitably she makes the plays that get people in the right spots. Good pass and transition. Christmas gave up the dribble. Now Jasmine Thomas, she had 19 against DePaul on Sunday, their top scorer. Haley Peters gives it up. Thomas almost let it go. Gray up high, shot clock at 5. The freshman won't shoot it. Shot clock down to 1. Peters got it off. It does catch iron, but nothing more than that. Good weak side checkout by Stephanie Dolson. That is an intriguing matchup with Crystal Thomas. Hardly on the drive, and a blocking foul with 17:45 to go here in the first half. Well, Connecticut does not have as many offensive weapons as we're accustomed to. The deny by Christmas leads to an outstanding backdoor cut, pass on the money. This one in transition. Doesn't look like Connecticut has numbers, but an outstanding interior pass by Ferris. Oh, good play. And it's Kelly Ferris to strike. The Big East honorable mention, a sophomore out of Plainfield, Indiana, who does so many things. She seems to be right in the middle of every great Connecticut run, doing something. Smartest player on the floor for that team. Long three, nothing but an air ball there by Chelsea Gray. Hardly with a pull-up pop, got herself open, but no. So you wonder, does Duke have enough offense to beat Connecticut? They had 2 scoring droughts on Sunday of 5+ minutes. This is an outstanding defensive team, but can they score it? Well, they certainly have enough players. Joanne P. McCauley will probably play all 11. Connecticut on the turnover. Here comes Hartley, the point guard, right down the lane. She beat everybody. You need a timeout right now, and she gets it. This team looks intimidated from the start, and she is in Christmas's face, the 2 oldest players, and as she should be. How can you be mad at Christmas? Yeah, good point. A blocked shot leads to a transition opportunity. How about find the basketball? How about somebody have their eye as Bria Hartley comes up the floor? We go back to that first meeting between the two, and it was ugly. The last day of January. Stephanie Dolson, Kelly Ferris, Maya Moore handing the Blue Devils their worst loss and their first loss of the season. They were 20-0 at the time, Duke was. Maya Moore with 29, also 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 87-51. They made it look so easy. Well, Joanne P. McCauley said, how many times could you get punched? I'm not so driven by the outcome because the outcome was never in question. I'm upset at the process and the lack of fight. I'll tell you what do we play, 3+ minutes? There appears to be very little fight. Somebody needs to show some leadership for Duke right now. And she didn't even wait for the television timeout. Gray, that won't fall for her. A battle for the rebound and take it away. Here comes Connecticut again. Hayes with Hartley. Can't get the layup to go. Tiffany Hayes coming off a tough shooting day. 3 out of 9 in a regional semifinal. Thomas underneath, tied up on the play, and the possession arrow will carry it to the other end. It'll be Connecticut ball.
Now, as much as we've talked about the vulnerabilities for Connecticut, what they have done is shown extraordinary physical and mental toughness. As you see what Duke did in the first half in that first matchup, just 15 points on 5 of 32 shooting. Not off to a great start here. But this team, despite the limited rotation, has answered every challenge. They went undefeated in what was the nation's toughest conference this year, and obviously that played out in the NCAA tournament. Big East has been special. So they've done the job, Dave.
Oh, the lane opens up again for Bria Hartley. She was really challenged by Gino today at their workout, and she has sprung to life early, and it's another start for Connecticut against Duke that Duke had to be wary of.
Well, has any single shot for Connecticut come outside the paint?
Another misfire. They're 1 for 8. Hartley in the open floor. Barris on the drive. Has it stolen away by Thomas. And she'll take on pretty much the whole Connecticut team and beat them. Maya went for the block and missed it.
Well, that is the expectation. That Jazz Thomas, the player with the most experience, would make a play at this moment.
They've gone almost 4 minutes in between field goals. And now Duke with a chance to calm things down and cut into this Connecticut lead a little bit. 10-4 in the early moments. Thomas on a high post. Dolson with her. Body to body. The miss. Maya Moore with the board.
Dolson doing an outstanding job early on Crystal Thomas.
There's criticism on Dolson from the Georgetown head coach after the game on Sunday when Gino Auriemma had to go to a smaller lineup and get his big out of the game. It made all the difference.
Connecticut on top and passing the ball with great efficiency. All 10 of their points in the painted area.
The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by the Capital One Venture Card. What's in your wallet?
Connecticut leading Duke here 10-4 early in the first half in Philadelphia. Maya Moore closing in on 3,000 career points, obviously trying to get back to a Final Four for the 4th time in her extraordinary career.
Well, the numbers are extraordinary. She needs 8 points to move into 7th place all time, 26 away from 3,000 in her career. And I'll tell you that she's been a class competitor. She reminds me of Kayla Peterson and Jeanette Poland from Stanford in this way. Wildly successful seniors who do it without a lot of posturing.
Pretty shot there by Jasmine Thomas, 5'9" senior, starting to get Duke rolling. She has 4 points. By the way, only 6 players in Division I have ever reached 3,000 career points.
And here's your first look at Duke's matchup zone. So how many passes does Connecticut take before they shoot it? Nice job by Hartley. She is a shot maker.
And the best three-point gun for the Huskies at 39%. She's in an early groove. 13-6 Connecticut. So they're getting scoring outside of Maya. Hartley able to disrupt that pass and on the line. So Duke will have it with 14:08 to go in the first half. Let's get it to Holly.
Well, in Duke's last huddle, Joanne P. McCauley, their coach, said, hey, we're trying to force too many things on the ball side. Don't force threes. Ball side is where all the bodies are. We want to be working on the weak side. And then she challenged Crystal Thomas. She said, if the post Dolson is moving and you're moving, that's her foul. You go hard to the basket. If you get a charge, so be it. You be aggressive.
Shot clock down to 2. The dipsy-do shot up and in. Christmas able to hit that one to cut into that lead.
Sorry, Dave. To Holly's point, one of the things Coach Auriemma told Stephanie Dolson was, don't let them get into your body. So as that matchup wears on, we'll keep an eye on who's doing the better job, Crystal Thomas or Stephanie Dolson.
Dolson on a high post. Hartley on the dribble drive, swung the pass and traveled with it.
Karima Christmas is a tough matchup because she's got a very strong physical frame, but she can use the bounce to get by defenders. She does so against Tiffany, and how about the adjustment? I mean, that's just a great athletic play.
Bria Hartley bleeding from her left nostril.
Cut me, Mick.
Yeah.
We are in Philadelphia.
We're in the right city. Someone can find Mick. 13:25 on the clock. You know who got a great kick out of that? Caroline Doty. She loved the fact that Bria Hartley was bloodied already.
Yeah, well, Caroline Doty once dropped somebody in a high school soccer match for being too physical with her friends, so she would be somebody who'd appreciate
it's
that.
It's not a reach to believe that if you hang around it for about 15 minutes. Thomas down the lane with the teardrop, too strong. Bernere underneath, gets it out to Thomas. Great job there, and Thomas can't cash in, and she takes a hit. She was charging for that rebound.
So what do you notice? I mean, at least since Joanne McCauley called that timeout, her players have responded with more energy, more aggressive nature on the backboards and to the rim.
That's number 2 on Tiffany Hayes, so she has to step out. And Lauren Dixon into the contest, the senior, who was really the catalyst in the second half for the victory on Sunday for Connecticut. She was outstanding. Thomas, I think more of a pass than a shot. Gets it back.
So all the 50-50 balls from the moment Joanne called that timeout have started to turn in Duke's favor.
9 on the shot clock, and here's Maya Moore with a quick hand. Off to Hartley. Back to Maya Moore to scoop it in.
Now that's defense turning to offense. They were looking to exploit Lauren Dixon on the post, so they give backside help. Maya does a nice job making that steal.
And finishing on the other end. Is Selby just into the ball game, knocking back a 3. She can do that at 39%.
Well, you've got over 10 players playing 10 minutes per ball game, and according to Joanne P. McCauley, it's all intuition and feel for substitutions.
And Connecticut will probably only play 6. Maya Moore in traffic, can't get it to go. Thomas, Stolze comes out to guard her. Bernere swinging the pass too much on it, and it'll go back over to UConn. 4 turnovers for Duke tonight.
Well, Maya Moore has won 2 Wade trophies. If she wins another one, it will be an unprecedented third. She's got to be good tonight. She makes the defensive play on one end. It results in a layup on the other.
Connecticut 15, Duke 11 at 11:48 to go here in Philadelphia first half. And Sunday night, ESPN delivers the Final 4 of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. Number 2 seed Notre Dame taking on the winner of this one. The number 1 seed Stanford facing the winner of Baylor and Texas A&M. Coverage getting underway at 6:30 Eastern. The NCAA Women's Final 4 special. Of course, the overall number 1 is, of course, the UConn Huskies.
Well, there's no lack of familiarity between Baylor and Texas A&M, and I think Danielle Adams, whose numbers on the season are outstanding, but against Baylor have not been as good. She's going to have to be terrific tonight.
Duke with some pressure. Maya Moore lifts and leaves it short. Rebound tipped into the corner, comes to Thomas, and here come the Blue Devils. 32-3 overall. Thomas shoved before the shot. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, in that last timeout, Gino Ariema of UConn said that he wanted to make it more difficult for Jasmine Thomas to bring the ball up the floor of Duke, but that time she came up really uncontested till the foul. Then he also said we've got to be sharper on offense and faster on offense. He said at the 12-second mark, I want sharper cuts, faster cuts. I need you to get moving on offense.
Kelly Ferris picked up her first foul moments ago. Dixon finds the open Maya Moore to lay it in.
Well, Holly, clearly they were responding because the easiest points for this team are in transition. When they have to execute in the quarter court, depending on how Tiffany Hayes is shooting the basketball and Bria Hartley as well, it can be more challenging for UConn than it has been in their recent past.
And Doris, once again, instant energy off that bench, and Lauren Dixon, as Hayes had to step out with the 2 fouls. And she's helped out immediately. That one swished in by Selby. Second one she has hit since she's come off the bench.
Yeah, she's given him a nice punch off the bench, and now she's spearheading that 3-2 matchup zone.
So those early fears are now by the boards that Duke was going to get blown out as they did in the first meeting in January. Nothing close to that as they have recovered beautifully here over the last 3 or 4 minutes. Thomas with a pull-up pop. No one came out to guard her, but she couldn't hit it. And now Hartley, the freshman. A hand check foul with 10:14 to go in the opening half. So Connecticut to put it in play with 10:14 to go in the half. A foul was on Selby, her first. Moore launches a long one.
I think that's too quick. You're not even probing the interior of that zone.
But she comes right back on the defensive end. Nearly turned it over. In fact, she did. That's a traveling violation. She thought she had it under control, but it goes against her.
Well, she does not. I mean, she is a great player, but she does not have a great handle. And you very rarely see her take more than 2 bounces, especially if a defender gets up into her to get to the rim.
She disagreed with the call, and so did Gino, who has taken the coat off. 9:40 left. Chelsea Gray coming off a really fine regional semifinal where she scored 16. Christmas ran right into Maya Moore and gave it up. Here's Dixon back to Moore in heavy traffic and never got to her, but a whistle with 9:26 to go. So Connecticut trying to run that break. Christmas picks up the foul, number 1. Joanne P. McCauley, head coach at Duke. Her husband is a professor at North Carolina, the hated rival of the Duke Blue Devils.
I'll tell you what would be interesting to note, and we're going to try to track this. From the moment Joanne P. McCauley called that timeout to now, the change in scoring, because her team has responded from that point forward.
Maya Moore off the inbounds, in and out. Really hasn't shot it very well at all in this tournament. About 37% coming in.
Yeah, she was 7 for 20 against Georgetown. Now she made 2 huge shots down the stretch.
Berneret, the left-hander, off the side of that backboard, but they get it back. A lot of second efforts now for Duke in the first half. The first 11 minutes, a lot of offensive rebounds. Thomas no. Maya Moore spearing the rebound. Connecticut 3 victories away from their 3rd consecutive national championship. Dolson's been very quiet to now. Duke with a chance to tie it on a 3-pointer. Thomas needs some help. Berneret trying to swoop in, denied. Dolson good defense. It comes to Dixon. And a 1-person fast break for the basket.
That is just speed, and she does a nice job using her body to shield the defender. And how many times have we seen UConn in transition where Duke doesn't stop the basketball? The first job in transition defense is you see the disparity 12-2 because they're not stopping the basketball.
Duke has 6 offensive rebounds, but they haven't scored off any of those. So again, they're digging out those second chances, but they're not converting. Christmas, a long one. And a whistle on the play as she got hit. That was with 3 on the shot clock.
Well, Lauren Dixon, over the last month of the season, the light bulb has turned on. Her career maybe not what she thought, but she's playing at the most important moment. Speed guard beats him up the floor in an easy deuce.
UConn leading by 5 over Duke here with 7:48 to go, Doris, in the first half.
Well, one of the things to look at from the matchup, or several things to look at from the first matchup, Connecticut was plus 21 on the glass. Tonight, -6. Points in the paint. They look like they're doing a better job running the basketball. The problem for Duke right now, lots of activity without achievement. You're +6 on the glass. You've got 6 offensive rebounds, no second chance points. And you go back to Crystal Thomas. You gave Allison Berneret a look against Stephanie Dolson. You go back to Crystal Thomas. We'll see. As you see, no second chance points.
Thomas did not score on Sunday and has not scored tonight. Christmas was fouled by Maya Moore in the act of shooting a 3. So she'll get 3 foul shots here and hits about 70% for the year. Senior out of Houston, Texas. On a team that really doesn't shoot foul shots particularly well. Now, coverage of the men's basketball championship continues with the Final Four Saturday on CBS starting at 6 p.m.
Well, Maya Moore now has 6 rebounds, 6 points, and 5 steals.
5 already.
5 steals already.
Knocked away. Loose on the side, and Connecticut will retain with 7:34 on the clock. And of course, the Connecticut women attempting to join the Connecticut men in the Final Four in the same year. Both the men and women won the national title for UConn in 2004. It's the only time it's been accomplished in Division I. Shot clock down to 4. Here's Dixon. Dolson with a big rebound. Finally tried to penetrate. That lane's been open for her in the first half. Here's Maya to cash in. Maya Moore coming in, averaging 22 points a game. At 23 against Georgetown in the regional semifinal. This is Chloe Wells into the game, another freshman for Joanne P. McCauley. Thomas with a good-looking jump shot, and that is her shot. That mid-range game give her 6. Six and a half to go here in the first half in Philadelphia. Hartley knocked away, and it was off her body. So terrific defense by the Duke Blue Devils. It's 5 turnovers now for Connecticut. Let's go to Holly.
Well, UConn, just 2 teams in America who have won a men's national championship and a women's national championship in the same year. And Jim Calhoun's team was playing the other night. The ladies were in their hotel here in Philadelphia watching the game separately in their hotel rooms. When they won, everybody spilled out to the hallways screaming. I wonder what the other guests on that floor thought was going on. But they were out in the hallways celebrating and sharing that they're pretty excited. Their men have made it, and now they're trying to get there themselves.
I think Coach Calhoun and Coach Oriema's relationship has at least advanced to the point where you don't need to put on battle fatigues in between the 20 feet of the offices.
Well, the UConn women in great support of the men. Maya Moore got a good look in the miss, but Dolson will clean it up. Hartley back to Maya Moore. 0 for 2. Now they're going to get Dolson over the back. And the rebound, she commits the foul.
Good activity, though, by Maya. Sometimes with Maya, you'll see her dance up and down on her toes. And it's like she's standing in the same spot going up and down. Movement with a purpose. Mix the spots on the floor where she scores it. That's when she's at her best.
Big advantage in transition points and in the paint for Connecticut. Crystal Thomas scoops it up. Here's Selby, who's hit 2 big threes in this one. Now the scoop drive, no. Lauren Dixon, it was really interesting to hear her talk about how she's had to search for a role on this Connecticut team. She's a senior now, big star coming out of Christ the King High in New York. Dolson with a bucket, give her 4.
Nice job by Dolson. She's got outstanding touch. And there was a lot of talk about how Terry Flynn from Georgetown criticized her, just basically saying she couldn't match up with T. McGee. But she wasn't bothered at all. She said, listen, sometimes the matchups are not great for me. Lauren did a great job. They went small, as you mentioned, and that completely changed the game around.
Foul on Haley Peters of Duke, number 2, and more on that. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, I spoke with Stephanie today at practice about the comments from not only the Georgetown coach, but one of their players called her lumbersome and cumbersome, and she said, I won't forget that, but I'm not going to dwell on it either. I just have to learn tonight to finish every shot and go hard to the basket. She's like, what I did in that last game was like when I was in 8th grade era. I'm taller than everyone, and I just stick my arms up and try to put it back. She's going to try to widen her stance, go from a position of power up to the basket to finish.
6-5. Passes here to Maya Moore, tumbling into the lane, and a whistle with 4:47 to go in the half. I thought the way Dolson responded, and remember, she's just a kid, just a freshman, was in a very classy way. She didn't say anything about the comments necessarily. She didn't take it personally. She just moved on.
Exactly.
So 23-18 Connecticut. Coming up on the 4.5-minute mark as Christmas drives and gives off to Vanderay, but the pass almost didn't get there. Knocked away by Connecticut.
Ooh, I think that was hard. Maybe she reached and slapped. I think there's been outstanding activity by UConn on the defensive end of the floor. They're pressuring out a little bit more than I would expect them to with such a thin rotation. I think Coach Joriam has been really keyed in on protecting the most important spots on the floor, but they're very aggressive defensively tonight.
Dixon on Thomas. Christmas. And the shot knocked out of play. Five-point lead here for Connecticut. Ray trying to take the baseline, got hung up. Ray backing in against Olsen, left it well short. Either team in a great sync right now offensively. The foul here will go against Connecticut with 3:56 remaining in the half. It's number 2 on Maya Moore. She has 8 points. So we'll take the timeout. Connecticut 23, Duke 18. All right, Trey, thank you very much. 23-18 Connecticut. Maya Moore with 2 fouls.
Well, you know, Kara just touched on this. Tiffany Hayes already has 2. You cannot make silly fouls if you're UConn. They have avoided this. You don't put yourself in that position, especially when you know another teammate has got 2. Now, we'll watch Maya, but as this last 30-plus or 24-plus minutes plays, does she make another one?
Thomas off the theft and an easy dish there for Christmas and 2.
7 turnovers now for UConn, and that's conversion. That's what you need if you're Duke.
Riley got a great look. Maya Moore came in, deflected that away, couldn't get a clean rebound.
UConn has managed to avoid foul trouble all year. This is a major gamble if you're Gino, but you don't have another choice. You've played 6 players in the vast majority of your games, and he clearly does not have faith in anyone else over there on the bench because Mayo remains on the floor.
And he already has Hayes on the bench with 2. Thomas lifts well short. The shot's just not falling for Duke. Hardly bouncing it. Ferris back to her, and she wasn't ready for it. Otherwise, she had a lay-in there. Now, Joanne P. McCauley believes that should be Duke basketball off the deflection, and they huddle and they get it right, and Duke wins it. 2:52 to go.
And now it looks like Hartley out, Hayes is in. So you've got 2 players on the floor for UConn with 2 fouls. And you can see clearly it goes off the left knee of Bria Hartley.
8 turnovers for Connecticut.
And the zone to protect your players here.
Christmas on the drive. Werner Ray, shot clock down to 8. Ray trying to probe that zone. Shot clock at 4. Thomas really grazing the iron, and she's off. It's Dixon and Hayes now on the fast break, and she'll lay it up and in as Lauren Dixon threaded the needle.
That's 10-2 fast break points. If Duke could take away Connecticut's transition, which was one of the things Joanne P. McCauley talked to us about at shoot-around, if they could take that away, the score would look drastically different.
Connecticut by 5. Christmas. Maya Moore having a very good rebounding half. One tipped away by Thomas of Duke with 1:51 to go before the break.
Connecticut out and running, and they have had multiple trips where they've had a numbers advantage, and Lauren Dixon is as good as there is right now running that transition, the jump stop bounce pass. Now listen, Dave, to me it's Lauren Dixon's job and Kelly Farris's job not to put Maya or Tiffany in a position to pick up that 3rd.
Hayes trying to make the drive. She's held up and fouled. Werner Ray trying to stick with her. The field has been set for the Frozen Four. Tune in Thursday, April 7, for a national semifinal doubleheader on ESPN2 and ESPN3.com at 5 Eastern. And for live stats and game recaps, go to NCAA.com, the home for all 88 NCAA championships. That foul against Werner Ray, number 2. Farris off the inbounds.
Not active does not mean not involved. That was a great shot of Caroline Doty talking to the freshman Hartley.
Unable to play because of all the knee surgery. She'll be back next year. Shot clock at 12. Maya Moore straight on to bury it. Hits a three.
See, at this point in the NCAA tournament, defenses are usually good enough that they're going to take away your offense if you only make 2 or 3 passes. It's how many passes do you make for a quality shot?
Wells gave up the dribble, back out high to Gray. 1 minute to go before halftime. Connecticut on a bit of a rundown, open up the 8-point lead. Here's Shear, partially blocked there by Dolson. She got her fingertips on it. Dixon just wants to get it and fly, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. A good decision. Recognizing no advantage. Let's set it up.
Time running out in the opening half here. The winner goes on to the Final Four to take on Notre Dame in Indianapolis. Off the fake, Hayes takes it into the paint, but it won't fall. She hit the deck. There was no whistle. Christmas trying to light it up. That won't drop. Thomas got tied up on the rebound. Gino Auriemma wanted an over-the-back foul. It'll stay Duke ball here.
I thought Karima Christmas just missed an advantage to cross over the initial defender and go right at Maya Moore. If you turn it over, so what? So what? But Maya Moore was back in defensive position, and Christmas can cross you over and go left. She did it later than she should have.
Thomas, strong, blocked away by Maya Moore. It comes out free to Duke, however. And a tie-up. Boy, that was a quick whistle. And UConn wins it on a possession arrow. 12.8 seconds left in the first half. And a timeout.
Now, Maya Moore, 149 wins, trying to add to that more than any other player in NCAA tournament or NCAA history, making the plays as much defensively as offensively. One of the better athletes you'll see in women's college athletics. The prettiest jump shot you'll see in college athletics. She's mixed her spots, and she's played both ends.
Nearly a double-double, as you see in the first half. 1 rebound shy. ESPN is your NBA destination for Wednesday Night Hoops as the New Jersey Nets take on the New York Knicks. The NBA on ESPN Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern. So the final 13 seconds before halftime to play out. Maya Moore so far has attempted 11 shots. She's hit 5. Thomas is on the bench for Duke. They're All-American. Hayes for Dolson. 2 seconds left. Off the fake. Maya Moore gets a look. Hits it right before the buzzer. She drilled it, and Connecticut leads by 10. Their biggest lead in the first half.
Now, outstanding execution. They didn't panic as Duke pushed up their pressure. They simply executed, which is what this time of year is all about. Duke pushes up to try to make them use clock. Maya, a little shot fake, gets that defender up, and that pretty jump shot working.
So she winds up the first half with 13. Let's go to Holly.
Well, Coach, you've been pretty animated in the last couple of huddles with your team. What has you so animated right now?
Well, we're normally a pretty good tempo team. You know, we move the ball, we cut, we pass. You know, we have a good rhythm to the way we play. And right now, it's like we're trying to win the game on every possession. And we have to do a much, much better job of just getting ourselves into our tempo where everybody gets to touch it. We break the defense down a little bit, you know, and we give them a chance to make a mistake on defense. So that's easier said than done. I mean, as long as she keeps making shots, it doesn't matter what I say, does it?
All right. Well, probably not, Coach. But Maya, first of all, tell us a little bit about how you and Tiffany will have to play in the second half because of your foul situation.
We just got to be smarter. You know, I picked up a silly one on the first foul, found a three-point shooter, and I think we're absolutely capable of doing that. It's just a matter of focusing in and just staying aggressive at the same time.
What Coach said, you're trying to win it on every single possession. That's good and bad. How do you tune into the second half?
Just continue what we just did those last few possessions. I think we had a good tempo. We made them work on defense a little bit, but we still attacked. So I'm feeling good where we are.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Holly. No coach in America sounds as unsatisfied as Gino Auriemma up by 10 at halftime. Well, he's got Maya Moore. She's rolling. They lead by 10 over Duke. Now let's join Trey Wingo back in the studio. Trey?
Get on your feet if it feels good. It feels right. 'Cause we're all stars tonight. So sing it out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to the NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One. Notre Dame and Stanford are on their way to Indianapolis in the Final Four. We are 20 minutes away from a third team joining them. And at the break, it's Connecticut leading Duke by 10. Dave O'Brien, Doris Burke with you. And in transition, UConn looked like the far sharper team.
They didn't have to take a single free throw. When you can quick strike as they can, it makes your job easier on the offensive end. Lauren Dixon again comes in and changes the tempo and pace for this team. When Tiffany Hayes got 2 fouls, she had to play extended minutes. Does a great job shielding the defender. 18 of UConn's 30 points come in the paint. That results in about 48% shooting. Quality of shots always dictates what your percentage is.
Maya Moore right before the break, right at the buzzer, burying that shot. She has 13 and also 5 steals. Rhea Hartley with 7 points. And Duke will have the basketball to begin the second half. How important the first couple of minutes of the second half for Duke?
All right, most coaches preach how you start and end halves goes a long way to how you're going to perform overall. They've got to make shots. I mean, the bottom line, they go 8 for 34.
And immediately turn it over. Peters gave it up to Maya Moore on the drive. Tough angle, draws the foul. She'll go to the line for 2 as we check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, I was able to speak with Duke coach Joanne P. McCauley at the half, and she said, well, we succeeded in a couple of things. They made it an ugly game and got UConn to foul a little bit, but she said, we're just rushing too much on offense. We're not doing a good job spreading the floor. We've got to do a better job using the weak side of the floor. And she said our post players, they've got to have a presence. They've had a lot of looks down low, but they haven't been able to finish them. She said that's been an issue for us all year, but it would be nice if they could wake up and play today.
All right, Holly, thank you very much. Maya Moore with 14 points, so she's 14 away from 3,000 career points, and she makes the pair.
Just feels like every time Jasmine Thomas has had to try to make a shot, it's been an individual play. She went 3 for 11, and the ball usually finds Jazz when the shot clock is winding down.
Karima Christmas with a great game on Sunday. Not so here tonight. One step away from the Final Four. At least not yet. She was their star with 23 points. Crystal Thomas trying to get involved. Swings to her left and misses. She didn't score at all on Sunday. She hasn't scored tonight.
Silly pass. That's got to be wildly frustrating as a coach. I mean, why try to make that play if you're Kelly Ferris?
Thomas with a miss, tipped into the corner. Jasmine Thomas trying to keep it alive. Crystal Thomas picks it up. Duke had a lot of second chance opportunities in the first half, but they didn't cash in on any of them. Off the offensive glass in particular. Thomas on the back down, but a travel. She's having a rough tournament.
Well, she is, and you might anticipate that Allison Verneray would get another look from Joanne P. McCauley. We're just updating what happened on January 31st. Field goal percentage a little bit better, but not good enough to win a basketball game at 24%.
And Duke would fall to Connecticut 87-51. Hartley with a pull up off the window, no. And the All-American Jasmine Thomas to set it up. Coming off a 19-point performance against DePaul. Chelsea Gray hit 16 in that game. She'll launch and hit.
So even when they're making shots, they're not extending their pressure. I'm a little surprised by that, Dave.
Hayes with a corner jumper. Drains it all net from 3.
Well, she's got to make more than one shot before she starts blowing on her fingers now. Come on, Tip.
Although when she gets going, she can get going as well as anybody. But only her second make of the night. Thomas can't return the favor. Rhea Hartley, who Gino is always on to go north and south, not east and west. Foul here was 17:39. And this is one of the things that Gino Auriemma and both coaches were talking about. The basketball they feel is too bouncy.
Yes.
They actually spent time taking the air out of their practice basketballs today.
The good thing you're saying that tonight and not giving away any secrets, because I'm not sure that was a certified move. Nice pass.
Maya Moore to lay it in, 37-22, and really starting to open up now for Connecticut.
Well, you have to watch the body language of Duke now. Do you have any fight in you? Do your shoulders slump immediately following that basket?
Thomas down the lane, no. Ferris tried to give it up in transition and gave it away. Here's Thomas.
Why? Why shoot it so fast? That's a player trying to win the ball game in one shot.
Foul will go against Karima Christmas of Duke, her third.
She's been a terrific leader, Jasmine Thomas. Sets the pace every day with her work ethic, and you like the competitive spirit, but it's about playing smart, and that was not a smart shot.
Especially when you're down by 15.
Big. That's a big, big miss right there. Karima Christmas with 3 fouls. Physically imposing.
And a freshman coming in for her, and Rashae Jackson out of Oklahoma. So Connecticut with the ball here, 17:05 to go. As the march to Indianapolis continues, the winner will take on Notre Dame. Hardly in and out. But Ferris out-hustles everybody for the rebound.
They don't have great size or depth in the post. That puts Hayes and Ferris in a position where they've got to compete and mix it up on the glass.
Moore in the corner. She has 17 points. Hayes swings for Ferris, the open shooter, and it's around and out. Right back up, no. Big battle underneath. I tried to keep it alive. Over to Duke. Selby hit 2 of those in the first half from three-point territory. Hartley will set it up now for Gino Auriemma. Connecticut in search of what would be an 8th national championship. Dolson takes the entry and no basket. 16:01, and Joanne P. McCauley wanted a traveling violation before the foul. 15-point lead for Connecticut. Crystal Thomas with her first foul. Bernaray will come in for her. Connecticut with the ball, 16 minutes to go. Trisha Liston, another freshman, coming on for Duke. They might play 3 at a time. Joanne P. McCauley has started 3 freshmen in a game this season for Duke. Wilson from the foul line area. A lot of iron. Nova Maya Moore there to clean it up. Give her 19.
Now they're using Stephanie Dolson at the high post, and I like it because she's been strong with the ball today. She's got good touch at 15 feet. As she's soft enough with her touch, put it up on the rim and let Maya's athleticism dictate the outcome of the backboard.
You are not seeing the reaction, if you're a Duke fan, that you wanted to see as the lead continues to grow for Connecticut and not shrink. Gray trying to take on the All-American. Denied. And it's going to go the other way. It'll be Connecticut ball, and they're winning every loose ball right now. And Maya Moore is leading the charge. 19 points, 10 rebounds. Catching fire right before the end of the half. There's the stick back, and there's the intensity she is noted for. She wants to go back to the Final Four. Connecticut 39, Duke 22, 15-21 to go in the contest. Let's go to Holly.
Well, a lot of people may not realize Gino Auriemma grew up as a little boy in Montella, Italy, and came on a boat to America when he was just 7 years old. And this house is where he landed with 11 people living in one side of that in a 3-bedroom house. He was living with his uncle. He said he went to his first day of 7th grade, didn't know a word of English. And he said, you know, because of my background, of where I come from, I have this feeling I constantly have to prove myself over and over again, just like when I was 7 years old, trying to fit in. And guys, ever since then, here in Philly, he's become a great American and an icon in women's basketball.
And I just absolutely adore his mom. Whenever she realizes she's on television, she acts like she's about 4 years old. Isn't she great? Marciella, very, very close to her boy, very proud of all his accomplishments. Dolson swings in for 2, and Connecticut just keeps laying it on now. 41-22.
He was the one in his family the fastest to pick up English, so he was put in charge of the money and paying bills. How'd you like that at that age?
Why doesn't that shock me? He was the fastest one to learn English in his household. That pass fired out of play, and Connecticut continues to impress defensively. And there's the young Gino as he was learning to master English with his folks.
There are some in the country who might wish he had never learned English.
You said that.
I'm not saying it's me. I'm just saying there might be some.
I know how much fun you have talking with Gino. He is, for those of us in the media, an absolute treat. Trying to play his way to another Final Four and sitting pretty right now. Maya Moore on the baseline gets a shove. What an impact on this program. Building it up to a superpower. 7 national titles. They had none the 11 seasons before he got there at Storrs. 19 regular season titles. He's been Big East Coach of the Year 10 times. Boy, that was difficult underneath, but she makes it all look so easy. Maya Moore on a tough angle.
21 points, 10 rebounds, 6 steals, and a couple of blocks.
So she's having an outstanding night when they need her the most. She's 9 out of 15 shooting it when she struggled shooting coming into tonight.
2 points. Duke has managed to put 2 points on the board. They'll get a couple free throws here. They scored 2 points in the second half.
Hayes with a foul. That'll be her third.
Tiffany Hayes, nice soft bounce pass on the baseline. Maya Moore has been too much for this team to handle.
And Maya needed 28 points tonight to reach 3,000 career points. And you're talking about NCAA tournament points. She is now number 2 all time. Shamika Holzclaw number 1 at 479. So she's passed Diana Taurasi.
Trying to equal Diana Taurasi in national titles. You have to win it this year in a three-peat, very similar to what Diana Taurasi did in her senior season.
Maya Moore has lost 3 games in college. Incredible. Look at this. Maya tonight up against Duke as a team. Hartley with a pull-up pop and a sweet jump shot to extend the lead to 45-23.
Good solid screen, and that was to your point about going north and south. Turn the corner as a guard, turn your corner and square your shoulders.
Foul here. Gino Auriemma's point has been that's what a point guard does. That's the direction a point guard moves. Well, tune in to ESPN at 6:30 Eastern on Sunday for our NCAA Women's Final Four special. Presented by Capital One. It's followed by the national semifinals. And for live stats and game recaps, go to NCAA.com. And it sails right through Christmas hands. They've turned it over now 14 times.
They have more turnovers than field goals, I think, at this point. That's never a good sign.
So what was all of this about Connecticut being vulnerable?
Yeah.
Turnover at midcourt. Thomas will scoop it up. She's been really unable to get going. Swinging the pass inside and a foul before that shot with 13:05 remaining.
I've got to be honest with you. I mean, I think maybe outside of the women's college basketball world, most people would look at Connecticut's record. The only loss coming December 30th on the road at Stanford. And they would say, oh, well, they're going to win the national championship. To me, they're not even the prohibitive favorite. You know, and I think you look at Stanford, and I know that they scuffled a little bit in the regional semifinal, and Gonzaga played them well for about 20 minutes. But I just think that there are teams better equipped to win the national title, and Baylor and Stanford would be 2 of them. And I know Maya Moore has objected to that. She's made me aware that she doesn't like my comments, and that's okay. You hope as a competitor that's exactly what she feels.
Well, Stanford's so big, so strong, so athletic. The Aguma-Kays and Caleb Peterson at 13 points and 8 rebounds a game. And, you know, they didn't just beat Connecticut. They beat them soundly. Now, granted, it was at Stanford where they just don't lose. That senior class for Stanford never lost at home.
Correct. It's a very well put together team with better depth than UConn. It might be a travel, yes.
And extremely well coached. Let's go to Holly.
Well, we asked Maya Moore about that game at Stanford, and, you know, everybody came out of that game saying, well, Stanford was so physical, that's the way to beat Maya Moore. But Maya brought up a great point that that graphic really showed is she said when they would switch on defense, they would switch with size. They'd go from one big giant defender, Ogumake, to Kayla Peterson. She said that's what made it so difficult that night.
Oh, Dixon cannot lay it in, but Ferris does on the follow. So 12:05 remaining, a timeout as Connecticut's lead balloons to 47-23. They're doing it to Duke again.
National championship. 3 national championships in a row. And UConn has done it again. 39-0 again. And a national championship again.
78-0. Number 7. And throwing an all-time consecutive wins record as well. Since the 08 Final Four, you look at what they've done, and Connecticut has found Stanford to be a very, very tough opponent. UConn 2-1 in the NCAA tournament. 2010 championship, although they shot the ball horribly in the first half of that championship in San Antonio against Stanford and rallied to win. Duke will have it with 11:56 to go. We have a timeout on the floor. UConn in command, up by 24.
Trey Wingo here in our studios. Coming up next is the Dallas Regional Final. Can Danielle Adams have a great game against Brittany Griner and Baylor? A&M trying to beat them for the first time in 4 tries and make it to Indianapolis. Let's go back to Dave and Doris.
Trey, thank you. Brittany has had a marvelous tournament. Of course, she had a 40-point game against Green Bay. The numbers on Danielle Adams. And when you and I had A&M and Baylor at Baylor, Texas A&M had them in deep trouble in the second half.
Yeah, and I believe all the games were very competitive, and obviously Texas A&M, both teams, their calling card is the defensive end of the floor. I think it's the 2 Carters. Sydney, they've got to be able to get some scoring from spots that maybe you don't anticipate. Danielle Adams is a terrific scorer. She reminds me, frankly, of Charles Barkley.
47-23 as Duke's horrible shooting night continues. They're just a little over 20% for the night. Dolson swings here for Dixon. Pass tipped into the backcourt. Shot clock is down to 5. Dixon trying to penetrate. Gave it up and knocked in by Ferris. Everything going Connecticut's way.
Now, when Rebecca Lobo told Danielle Adams she had a game like Charles Barkley, you know what her response was? Who's that?
With a straight face.
The next time we had him, she had looked him up and said, okay, I know who he is.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He could do some things. Gray lines up a long one. And from inside or outside, not a good night to shoot the basketball for Duke.
Dolson's been very good inside.
Hartley draws the foul. She'll go to the line. Another well-run fast break. The transition game has been exceptional for UConn tonight. Major League Baseball is back as ESPN delivers opening day Thursday. First at 1 o'clock, the Tigers will meet the New York Yankees. At 4, the San Diego Padres heading to St. Louis. It snowed in St. Louis today. Then at 8 o'clock, the Giants and the Dodgers.
They know you're coming.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bringing it with me. Hartley at the line with 10:47 to go.
Well, you didn't get enough snow in New England, so they figured let's give them a little bit more upon arrival.
What a winter. Rhea Hartley, of course, and the UConn Huskies know all about it. Connecticut got one storm after another. Hopefully they're done. The spring has been officially upon us for a little while now. She drains that one. Give her 10 points. And UConn has hit 50. Hayes back on. Hartley will step out.
So I just think what UConn has achieved this season is extraordinary, and I think it's a tribute to their staff and to the 6-player rotation that they've had.
And tonight on plays like this, Dixon with the theft, the bounce for Hayes, she'll lay it in. Tonight they have looked like vintage Connecticut, haven't they?
Yeah, they really have, and this is a team that scored easily in transition. I think this is his best coaching job, and I couldn't say how long. I mean, he'll tell you when he's got the most talent in the country because he's going to chirp a little bit. He hasn't done a whole lot of that this season.
Another stop. Moore decides to bring it out, and Dixon will run it. 7 steals for Moore tonight. So on the defensive end, she has been superb. not just the offensive end. Dolson threw it away. Thomas bouncing for Jackson for the lay-in.
And now it looks like Joanne McCauley wants the team to push up into pressure. But nobody turned to the bench after they scored it.
Well, early on, it looked like Duke was not intimidated, at least the initial minutes of the game. But then Maya Moore started to heat up. And in the face of the All-American starting to have a terrific evening, and she's just kept it rolling, they folded. And folded against the defense of Connecticut.
It was interesting to watch Coach Oriam at practice today because he was really quiet in demeanor. He was very calmly, outside of how he was treating Bria Hartley, he was calmly explaining what he wanted. He said, listen, I have to make sure this team feels good about itself because we're so young.
4 to shoot. Here's Gray, has to get it in the air. Rebound tip, Dixon. Off of Duke, and let's go back over to Holly Rowe.
Well, we were actually sitting at practice with Coach Ariema when the news came out that Tara Vanderveer had won the Coach of the Year award, and we said to him, Coach, do you feel like you've done your best coaching job that you have in a long time, given that you have just really 6 players deep? He said, you know, I think I have. Is he realizes what a challenge it's been, what a slim margin of error it is. And guys, it's remarkable that nobody's gotten hurt, that people don't have foul trouble. This has been a very smart team as far as staying out of issues.
Maya staying in the flow, and think of how good they'd be if they had Caroline Doty. As Gino said the other day, would probably be undefeated.
Yeah, I think you can make a case that they missed Doty more than they missed Samari Walker, because for the 5 points, 5 rebounds they were getting from Samari, they were having to give her an awful lot. Where Doty is another player who could space the floor.
Well, perhaps in Indianapolis, it will be another one for Maya Moore. Just keeps on hitting those shots, and she has 26. Perhaps a rematch between Stanford and Connecticut. A lot of people want to see that happen again.
Well, Notre Dame is a team that they've beaten 3 times, but listen, the way the Irish are playing, it is not going to be an easy game should Connecticut advance and hold on here, which it looks like they're in complete command.
About to say, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame don't want to see it happen, and they're coming off a great victory against Tennessee, and they are heading to Indianapolis, and they're going to have a lot of their fans from the state of Indiana on hand and a great deal of support.
Well, the Irish have got to find a way to shoot the basketball better against UConn. In each of their matchups, ooh, Maya looks like she's a little bit
she took a tumble.
Slow to get up.
And now the timeout, she races over to her bench. 7:39 left. Let's get a look. As Maya Moore went down here and guarded by Christmas. Oh, they knocked knees. It does not appear to be anything more serious than that. She needs just 2 more points to get to 3,000 in her illustrious career.
Now you look at her numbers over the course of it's extraordinary stuff. Could be her 4th straight Final Four, 4-time AP All-American, and out there perhaps an unprecedented 3rd Wade Trophy. And look at the minutes compared to the other top scorers in NCAA Division I history. All of them have played more minutes than Maya.
Well, she's going to get a little bit of a break here and try and walk that off. In the meantime, Duke has the ball and thrown away. They've done that a lot tonight. A lot of turnovers, 18 of them. UConn has capitalized, leading 57-31. Hayes swings for Ferris. It's going to be a traveling violation on the youngster. Bria Hartley with the turnover. And Maya looking forward to returning here in the last 7 minutes. She's done a ton of damage tonight with 26 points. With 26 points, 10 rebounds, 7 steals. Holly?
Maya Moore suffered that little bump on the knee. There's a couple of things going for her. First of all, she wears these knee pads that have some built-in padding on the front of them from Nike, and so that's going to help a little bit with that direct knee-to-knee contact. But that left knee continues to bother her a little bit. She's been bouncing around here in the huddle, and she asked the athletic trainer to go back and get her a bicycle so she could keep it loose. So you can see her just, hanging out, chilling, watching the game. But she's definitely going to keep that knee moving right now.
Maya Moore, you can do that. You can ask for a bike. 5 seconds later, there it is. No sweat. Reach-in foul with 6:51 to go. Here's the knee knock.
Well, you wonder how much that tightens up. I remember we did a Duke game early in the year with Kyrie Irving against Butler. And there was a play late where he made that dribble drive. And we didn't think it was anything serious. I asked him about a post-game. Well, as it turned out, that toe injury turned out to be something pretty big, didn't it?
Boy, did it.
Yeah.
Cost him the rest of the season to that point before the NCAA tournament.
All I'm trying to do there is give the entire state of Connecticut a little agita, a little something to worry about for the next week.
Life's good right now, as it usually is in the month of March, heading toward April. For the Connecticut men and women. Dolson inside for 2. You can see her becoming a big-time force in women's college basketball in the next few years.
Yeah, I think she's got some time to put in the offseason. Her conditioning has got to continue to get better. Her strength, she's got to develop a low, wide base on the post-up. But it's an extraordinary transformation, and a tribute to Stephanie Dolson for how hard she worked in the months of January and February with their strength and conditioning coach, getting some extra conditioning in.
And the loss to Brittany Griner and Baylor. And here's her fake down the lane. That's a beautiful move. She has 10. In the loss to Baylor, she fouled out in 12 minutes. And to think that she's come from that to someone who can give you 40 minutes, score 24 points, as she did against Notre Dame, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, she looked completely lost, a little intimidated by Brittany Griner. And I know Carol Lawson has talked about what it's like to play Brittany your very first time. It's like you can't understand what that's like until you step between the lines and are looking opposite Griner.
Rebound comes out to Harley, and Maya is getting ready to check back in the game. She's at the table. Harley walks it out as we approach 5 minutes to go here in Philadelphia. Here's Dolson ranging in for 2 more. Give her a dozen. Now the lead is up to 30. Last time they met, Connecticut won by 36 at the end of January. But it was a different game because Connecticut really blew their doors off in the very first 3 or 4 minutes of the game.
Well, they looked a little bit flat to come out, which was shocking. There's a great timeout by Joanne P. McCauley where she got on them a little bit.
This is Gino Auriemma calling on Maya to return. Are you ready to go? And it's time to get off the bike. She said, I'm all right, I'm fine.
2 more, Huskies.
Can't wait to get in.
Enjoying the show while she's sitting out.
Where does she love to play? And 2 points shy of 3,000.
That's the reaction we get from you when somebody else picks up the check.
Hayes at the line. 1-1 here for Tiffany Hayes, all Big East first team. And for more on Maya Moore, it's back to Holly.
Well, you can kind of see that Maya Moore is a person that does not like to sit still at any moment. And that's exactly why she's become one of the greatest women's basketball players. When she was a little kid, she was a little kid that was constantly in motion, and it was driving her mom crazy. She'd sign her up for things like gymnastics, soccer, anything to keep her busy. And finally, she found basketball. She lived with her basketball. And she said, I've loved it because it's something that I can be in motion all the time. She played all the time. And you could see, even sitting out on the sideline, she couldn't hold still.
Thomas gets the roll. Desmond Thomas with 14 points.
I think there's so much to admire about Maya. She's an unbelievable student and a class competitor. I mean, she's just nice backdoor cut and pass. There's never any, posturing or preening. She does her job. She makes baskets. She goes back down the other end. And believe it or not, there's still more to develop in that game, Dave O'Brien.
And a whistle and a foul before the shot. What does she have to work on? I mean, you've talked about it for a couple of years now. She needs to get fouled. She needs to go to the line more.
Yeah, I think with that frame, there's absolutely no reason why she shouldn't average 7 to 8 free throws. The thing Stanford did so well is they got into her space. And again, they switched with size, and they have that luxury. But I would get into her space, make her uncomfortable, and make her beat me off the dribble drive.
Shear with an air ball and tapped right to Connecticut. Here comes Ferris. UConn keeps coming right at you. Maya Moore running the baseline here. Under 4 minutes to go, and that's all the time that separates Connecticut from yet another trip to the Final Four. They are poised to go to Indianapolis, and there's the two. There's 3,000 points in the career of the great Maya Moore, the 7th player in NCAA history to do it. And the Connecticut fans very aware of their star's numbers and all she has achieved, and they rise up and cheer for her in Philadelphia. Really nice moment. So Maya gets to 3,000. And congrats from her teammates. What a career.
And this crowd giving her a standing ovation, uses a little cross cut, little screen. Now she looked like she was wincing on the way back. Boy, that 3,000 was hard to come by. She's saying, ouch.
She paid for that one. 69-35 Connecticut.
The best ones make it look effortless. And there's an ease with which she seems to do things.
And another big-time game for her in the NCAA tournament. And against teams in the tournament. Teams that qualified for the tournament. She's had some tremendous games all season long. We take a look at tonight's Capital One Cup impact performance.
Well, it started on the defensive end. I mean, she set the tone there, not only blocking shots, stealing the basketball, but rebounding with authority and the athleticism to make plays in the open floor. The prettiest jump shot to watch in America, and I think the prettiest jump shot I've ever seen on a woman. Always on balance, a natural scorer by mindset.
How fitting that the 3,000th career point comes on a jump shot. 28 points, 10 rebounds, 7 steals, and her best shooting game by far of the tournament, 12 out of 18.
If you're an opponent, you're thinking, oh, shoot. She found her rhythm.
Duke got her going. And now she's a cheerleader for the last 3 minutes to rest that knee a little bit and get her completely 100% for Indianapolis and a rematch with Notre Dame.
Well, the Irish, I was trying to make this point earlier, in the 3 matchups, the Irish have shot 36, 38, and 33%. And Skylar Diggins about 34% against UConn.
And Baylor and Texas A&M coming up in about 20 minutes. And the winner of that one will move on to Indianapolis to take on Stanford. And of course, all of those games in the Final Four coming up next weekend on ESPN. We will have every minute for you. Thomas nails a 3. Jasmine Thomas with 17. So the senior in her last game at Duke out of Fairfax, Virginia, going out with a little bit of a flurry, but too little too late for Joanne P. McCauley. UConn has hit its last 11 field goals. They've hit 11 in a row. Talk about going out with a flurry. 5 on the shot clock here for Hartley. Gonna have to hustle this one up. Got it off in time and hit it. So make it 12 in a row. So even when the shot clock is pressing them, they're nailing them. And it has turned out to be every bit, in the end, the blowout that game 1 was.
Yeah, no question. There was the briefest of about 6 or 7 minute period where this team had fight Duke, and then it ended.
And mainly because of number 23. Had a sensational game tonight in the clutch again to push Connecticut on to the Final Four. Sunday night, ESPN delivers the Final Four. Number 2 seed Notre Dame taking on the winner of this one, which of course will be Connecticut. And the number 1 seed there, Stanford, facing the winner of Baylor and Texas A&M. Coverage getting underway at 6:30 Eastern. The NCAA Women's Final Four special. And a timeout on the court with 1:25 remaining here in Philadelphia.
Well, Maya Moore has now eclipsed 3,000 points. The intensity, the work ethic, the focus from the moment she stepped onto the Storrs campus has been there. The game's not bad either.
Well, she certainly has, Trey. She had a very effective night, 12 points and 6 assists, and 5 out of 11 shooting the basketball as well. She played awfully well. And Connecticut getting a great night from Maya, as you would expect, 73-38. So putting the finishing touches as Hartley goes down. A hard foul from Chloe Wells. Stops the clock with 1:12 to go. And at the conclusion of tonight's game, be sure to catch the winning team cutting down the nets live on ESPN3.com. Gino already looking for the scissors. Hartley going to the line. How many of those little pieces of the net do you think he has?
Well, quite a few. What do you do with them?
What do you do with them all?
Well, Jasmine Thomas, Karima Christmas, and Crystal Thomas over there on the sideline now. That's your 2-time ACC tournament MVP. Was a Wade finalist. ACC first team performer, all defensive team. Karima Christmas has been outstanding over the last couple of years. ACC tournament first team performer. Karima Christmas last 2 years as well. And they will call it a career at Duke.
So the Duke Blue Devils had high hopes of capitalizing on the vulnerability of Connecticut that Gino Auriemma talked about after they beat Georgetown the other day, but they looked every bit the typical Connecticut powerhouse tonight.
Yeah, they sure did. And again, I've said this, they're not vintage UConn, but they have shown all season an extraordinary physical and mental toughness. Every time this team has been challenged, save one against Stanford, they have answered the call. And you think about the disparity. That game was a little bit closer than the score would indicate. Stanford pulled away late in that ball game. But Connecticut didn't play well either. And I asked Coach Auriemma, what was the lesson? What did you take from that? He said, we spent all game trying to get Maya Moore open. And I vowed to her when I called her in the office, saying, we will never do it again. We will not watch you.
Laura Englund at the line. Some rare minutes for the freshman out of Laguna Hills, California. Maya Moore tonight achieving 3,000 career points. Just the 7th to do it. And once again, Connecticut will come out on top by a wide margin to play their way into another Final Four, where they will gun for what would be an 8th national championship, with a tremendous field being assembled. And whoever comes out of the A&M and Baylor game, which is still to come, it should be a great basketball game. 1-1 time here with 14.5 seconds left, and the winner will face Stanford in Indianapolis.
Texas A&M, an outstanding 2 seed, as was Notre Dame Irish. As Skylar Diggins, and this is something Rebecca Lobo talked about last night. I thought she was masterful, controlling the team. A hard thing for a guard with the ball in her hands to do, Dave, is decide when it's appropriate for her to score and when it's appropriate to get her teammates involved. And Skylar Diggins was terrific at it last night.
Finally bouncing for Dixon. Trying to get it across midcourt. And the last 5 seconds. Connecticut thumping Duke yet again. And the UConn women join the UConn men. They are on to the Final Four. Final score tonight, Connecticut 75, Duke 40. Gino Auriemma worried about his team's vulnerability. Maybe this was the year they would get knocked out of the tournament before the Final Four. Man, did they look sharp tonight, and Maya Moore led the charge.
Well, from the outset, the best player and the most winning player in NCAA history, Maya Moore, now with 150 wins, set the tone and allowed the players around her to relax and just play, sharing a hug with Caroline Doty.
So UConn is on to Indianapolis, and they will face Notre Dame in one national semifinal. Still waiting to see if it's Baylor or Texas A&M to take on Stanford on Sunday. We'll have those games for you, the national semifinals, on ESPN. Let's go to Holly Rowe with Gino Auriemma.
Well, Coach, you were up by 10 at the half, and then you came out and just didn't allow them to score for almost 10 minutes. What was so great about your defense?
I just thought when we came out, we had a much better idea of how we wanted to guard them. I thought we did a great job in the first half. I mean, they only scored 20 in the first half. So I thought if we could do exactly what we did, but make a couple little adjustments, that you know, we would have. I never thought we would have a problem defending them because you know, we're a good defensive team. The whole point of the second half was our offense was so much better than it was in the first half, and that's why the score is what it is.
I've run out of adjectives to describe her, but maybe you have some new ones. Is Maya Moore, 28 points, becoming one of the few to score 3,000? Is how do you continue to describe her performances?
Well, you can't because, you know, the first 6 minutes of the game, all we did was complain to her in every timeout, like, stop shooting jump shots, stop shooting jump shots. Why are you selling for jump shots? And then she just goes on a roll and starts making jump shots. And you know, the best thing that Maya does is not listen to me. So that's the best thing I could say about her.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much. And here she is, Maya. Coach was telling you in the first half, quit shooting jump shots, but you finally started hitting him. How did you prove him wrong?
It wasn't about proving him wrong. I mean, the whole point is he wants me to just be aggressive and not to settle. So once I started just crashing the boards more, you know, getting some putbacks and some layups, the jump shots started to fall.
Tell us about your knee. What does it feel like right now?
Oh, it's fine. Just a little bang knees a little bit. It happens in the game. I'll be fine.
How do you describe that moment when you got your 3,000th point and people in this audience knew and stood on their feet for you?
It feels great. You know, I know our fans just, they love everything that we do, and every time, you know, we break a record or something great happens, they're the first ones to cheer us on, and just, you know, the way my teammates embraced me made it all worth it.
What, if any, comfort is it to advance to the Final Four now with an opponent in sight that you know so well in Notre Dame?
It's tough. You know, we played each other, I think, 3 times already, so I think that's the toughest scenario that either of us could have at this point, so it's going to be a battle.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hey, Missouri fans!
Maya, Holly, thank you very much. So it's Notre Dame and Connecticut. Third Final Four appearance for Notre Dame. The 12th for the University of Connecticut. UConn, incidentally, Doris Burke, hit 72% of their shots in the second half.
Well, obviously, your great familiarity with conference foes, both Notre Dame and Connecticut, because the Big East was the best conference throughout the course of the season, are well prepared. Both are playing terrific basketball right now.
That will be the 9 o'clock matchup in the national semifinal. Maya standing tall as she so often does. Brilliant tonight with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 steals. Coming up next, Texas A&M against Baylor in the Dallas Regional Final. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, your exclusive home for the NCAA Women's Championship. For Doris Burke, Holly Rowe, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dave O'Brien, and again your final. Connecticut sails into the Final Four, 75-40. Here's Trey Wingo.